Welcome back to today's tutorial. So we're going to be learning this beautiful handkerchief lace skit. My fabric, I have about 2.5 years of fabric here. So I'm going to be folding it into four. You all know how to cut our flare skirt. This is going to be a full cycle flare. So I folded into two like two, and I'll fold it over again into four. So it's been folded into four. And so after I fold it, I'm going to measure the length of my skirt. Let me see if I'm okay with what I have here. So with my radius, after calculating my radius, I think I'm okay with the length I have here. I'm going ahead to cut it out. And for my radius, I'm using my hip circumference divided by 6.28. So that's the formula for full cycle. So after I've done my calculation, okay, let's say my hip circumference is about 42 divided by 6.28. So there's my joining everything. So that is what I'm going to be measuring out here. I think I have about 7 inches here for my radius. So it measures around 2, and you cut it out. And that is all we are going to be cutting for this, guys. It's that simple. Remember, the skirt is an handkerchief lace skirt. I'll cut this out. So I want my skirt to have, okay, so I will notch the center, but before that I'm going to be opening up the side. So I'll open it up like this. So if you don't want to attach pocket to yours, you can just leave it like this. Go ahead and cut the second flare at the upper part, then your band. So because I want mine to have, okay, that was why I open it. Then I'll notch the center. So for the second flare for the upper part, I want it to be around 40 inches length. So I'm trying to see where I can get this length without wasting my fabric. So the length of the second peplum is going to be around 8 inches, but plus the folding. So I think I cut about 9 to 9.5, including the folding at the down part and attaching it at the upper part. So I'll go ahead and cut this like this. I'll be cutting two of this. Yes, two. One for the front and one for the back. So the next thing is to cut the band. The length of my band is going to be your hip circumference plus like 1 or 1.5 inches extra. And the height is about 5 inches, depending on the height of the elastic we are going to be using. So another thing you want to cut out is your pocket. So I went ahead to fold my fabric like this. I want the height of my pocket to be 12 inches and the width, you all know, 7 inches for the pocket. So my pocket is going to be 4 because I'll be attaching 2 on each side. So the pocket is going to have a little shape. I want it to have this shape. So I'll just go ahead and give it a shape. Just curve it. From that side I came down about 3 inches and I curve it like so. So here is the pocket open. It's about 6.5 or 7. So do whatever that works for you. And here is my set. From that midpoint, I'm going to leave half inch for that joining allowance at the side, and I will measure around what I have here. So I will know where to notch on the other peplum. So whatever I get, I'm going to be dividing it into two, and I will give it no. I will notch it on this peplum. Remember, we cut out another peplum which is about 9 inches. So I'll fold it like this, and I'll go ahead and notch what I measure. I think I measure about 11 inches for my ears. So guys, the length of my peplum is short, so I later add to it. So from that notching, that is where I'm going to be sewing it from. I went ahead to attach my pocket. So after sewing the first, I'll also go ahead and sew the back side so I can join them together. So here is the peplum. I've gone ahead to join to it, and I measure the midpoint. So I'll place it on that midpoint like this. Then I'll sew and stop at the notch area. But that is where it will stop. With the other ones we just drop by the side of the skirt. So guys, this is it. I've gone ahead to sew it, and I'll also sew around the remaining part, the down part. Remember, we left allowance, the upper part, and the side. So the best thing to do, as I've said, is to close the side. Remember, I came down by 1 inch before attaching my pocket. So from there, I'll sew around the pocket and sew down to the hem of the skirt. I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. So I'll measure around my waist, whatever I have here, remember, that is what I'll be cutting out for my band. And our band is going to be having elastic. I added 1 inch allowance for sewing. So this is the elastic I'll be using, and it's about 2 inches. And the length of my elastic is going to be your waist circumference divided by, sorry, your waist circumference minus 6 inches. So this is it. I've gone ahead to sew it on. I sew from here to about 1 inch. I left and half inch opening, then I sew up the remaining one. So the opening I left is going to be for the passage of the rope, because it's going to be having a rope at the front here. So I left like half an inch for my rope. I believe you can see my hand from here. So that's the opening. So the next thing you will do is to sew around the pocket and attach it. Bye. I'll see you in my next